Son to daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Allow me to walk with you at this beginning without hurry, like someone who sits in the shade after a long journey. Take a deep breath. I know the weight your heart carries, even when no one else notices. I know the silences you keep, the smiles you offer out of courtesy, and the pain you swallow so you won't hurt anyone. I see all of it. When I lived among men, I also experienced something many find hard to admit. Not everyone who shared my blood shared my heart. I grew up in a home, lived among relatives, learned trades, sat at the table. Yet I was not always understood. Not because I loved less, but because not everyone was willing to walk in the same spiritual direction. There was a defining moment, recorded so that you could understand this today. They told me that my mother and my brothers were looking for me. My heart loved them deeply. Even so, I needed to teach something greater than biological ties. I said, with calm and truth, "Whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Those words were not spoken to exclude, but to set people free. Son, daughter, blood may unite stories, but only true love unites purpose. Only obedience to God creates deep communion. There are people who carry the same last name as you, but they do not carry the same care, the same loyalty, the same willingness to guard your heart. And that explains why at times you feel like a stranger in your own home, out of place in family conversations, exhausted after gatherings that were supposed to bring comfort. I know how painful it is to find coldness where you expected warmth. I know how confusing it feels to sense emotional distance even when bodies are close. But listen to me carefully. This does not mean you are hard to love. It simply means not everyone knows how to love in the way your spirit needs. I saw disciples follow me wholeheartedly, and I saw relatives keep their distance out of fear, pride, or misunderstanding. I saw suspicious looks and unspoken words. Even so, I remained in love, never allowing the hardness of others to harden my own heart. And that is what I want to teach you now. Do not turn another person's lack of affection into an accusation against yourself. Do not carry guilt that is not yours. You were not created to beg for emotional crumbs, nor to dim your light to fit into someone else's discomfort. You were created to live in truth, and the truth reveals that not every family bond is healthy at a deeper level. Perhaps you are beginning to realize this now. Perhaps you are understanding why certain conversations always stay shallow, why your dreams find no room, why your faith is met with irony or silence. Do not fear this awareness. It did not come to pull you away from love, but to draw you closer to what is real. Guard your heart with gentleness. Notice who listens without judging you, who rejoices when you grow, who respects your boundaries and your walk with God. Slowly, little by little, begin to invest more time and energy in these relationships. Sometimes the family that sustains you is not born of blood, but of hearts aligned with goodness. Today, do something simple and profound. Instead of trying to be accepted by those who never truly saw you, quietly thank God for the love you are capable of giving and place in His hands what you cannot change. This will bring lightness to your soul. I am with you. I have not abandoned you, and I never will. Love is the path, and it begins within you, guided by truth. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Let me touch a sensitive place in your heart, one you almost never speak about out loud. That strange feeling that shows up without warning, the tightness in your chest after certain conversations, the exhaustion that doesn't come from the body, but from the soul. I know it. I felt it. And I want you to know, this is not you overreacting. This is not drama. This is spiritual discernment. When I walked the earth, I was often surrounded by people, and yet felt the weight of a lack of peace. There were smiles before me, kind words, compliments, but their hearts were far away. My spirit perceived what human eyes could not see. That is why I taught something essential. Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart. Rule, son, the one who decides, who signals when something is out of order. Peace is not just a pleasant feeling, it is a sign. When it repeatedly disappears in a certain relationship, environment, or conversation, it is not coincidence. It is the Spirit lovingly alerting you. Shallow conversations that always leave you empty. Forced affection that never truly warms you. Presences that confuse you more than they clarify. All of this speaks to you, even when no words are spoken. I know that many times you tried to convince yourself it was all in your head. You told yourself, I'm too sensitive, I'm exaggerating, I don't want to create conflict. But listen to me with care. Constantly ignoring the absence of peace teaches your heart to endure what it was never meant to carry. I never lived with inner conflict. Even in the midst of pain, rejection, and the cross, my heart remained aligned with the Father. And whenever something did not come from love, my spirit perceived it. Peace does not shout. It whispers. And those who learn to hear it avoid many wounds. Perhaps today you are living alongside people who talk a lot, but listen very little. Who say they care, but are never truly available. Who laugh with you, but never cry with you. And every time you step away, you feel relief and then guilt. Do not carry that guilt. Relief is a sign that your spirit was overloaded. This does not mean you must cut everything off abruptly or act harshly. No. It simply means you must respect the signals God places within you. Peace is a gift, not a luxury. And when it is frequently lost in a certain place, something needs to be re-evaluated. Today, practice something simple. After an encounter, a conversation, or time in a certain environment, pause for a moment and notice how your heart feels. Is there lightness, clarity, or is there heaviness, confusion, and restlessness? Do not ignore that inner response. It is a form of care. Son, daughter. I did not call you to live in constant emotional discomfort. I called you to live in peace, even in a restless world. Trust this sign. It did not come to isolate you, but to protect you. And if these words touched your heart, if you recognize that the peace of God is precious to you, write in the comments simply and lovingly, Amen. Not as an obligation, but as an act of surrender. I am here. Do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Let me speak to you about something that confuses many hearts. When someone pulls away, when a bond grows cold, when closeness fades, it is not always rejection. Sometimes it is care. Sometimes it is protection. And most of the time, it is love acting in a way that hurts but saves. When I lived among men, not everyone remained by my side. Some drifted away slowly, others abruptly. There were those who could not bear my words, those who were troubled by truth, those whose hearts felt too exposed to stay near. And even then the Father was at work. Not every separation was loss. Some were deliverance. I know that when someone distances themselves, the first question that rises in you is, what did I do wrong? And often you begin to replay conversations, attitudes, silences, trying to find a flaw in yourself. Son, daughter, not every distance is the result of a mistake. Some distances are God's response to what you cannot yet see. There are relationships that, if they remained close, would sicken your heart. There are presences that, if they stayed, would drain your peace, confuse your identity, and delay your purpose. That is why it is written, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The heart is a source, an origin. When it becomes contaminated, everything grows heavier. Perhaps you miss someone who is no longer as present. Perhaps it hurts to accept that certain bonds changed without a clear explanation. But listen to me with tenderness. If distance brought you more clarity, more peace, and greater closeness to me, then it did not come to wound you. It came to preserve you. I saw many insist on relationships the Father had already signaled to release. I saw hearts harden out of fear of being alone. And I saw others bloom when they finally accepted that not every companion is destiny. Some people are bridges, not homes. This does not mean you must close your heart or become suspicious of everyone. No. It simply means you must learn to discern. Not every withdrawal is abandonment. Sometimes God removes someone from your path because He knows you would not withstand what was coming if you kept walking together. Today, do something simple and deep. When you remember someone who stepped away, instead of asking only, "Why did this happen?" also ask, "What might this be protecting me from?" This change in perspective will bring rest to your soul. Trust, son. Trust, daughter. I never remove something without a greater purpose, even when it hurts, even when you do not understand it yet. I guard your heart with more care than you imagine. I am with you in every step. Do not be afraid. Love remains the path. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. There are things your eyes cannot reach, but your spirit feels. There are polite gestures that hide weary intentions. There are smiles that do not celebrate, only conceal. I know this confuses you, because you were created for truth, for clarity, for the transparency of love. And when those things are missing, something within you grows restless. When I walked among men, I saw many faces smiling while hearts remained closed. I saw kind words hiding envy, compliments carrying comparison, closeness seeking control. And I did not need to confront everything with harsh words, because I knew something I want you to learn today. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Son and daughter, God sees what you do not see. He sees what was never said, perceives what was thought, understands the intentions behind actions. That strange feeling you sense around certain people does not come from nowhere. Many times it comes from the clash between the purity of your heart and the disorder of another's. I know you try to be fair. You prefer to believe the best. You give second chances, excuse behaviors, remain silent so you won't hurt anyone. This speaks well of you. But be careful not to use your kindness as an excuse to ignore clear signs. Kindness without discernment becomes unnecessary vulnerability. There were moments when people walked with me only as long as I did not threaten their interests. When truth began to expose what was hidden, when light revealed what was concealed, many became uncomfortable. Light never harms out of cruelty. It simply reveals, and not everyone is ready for that. Perhaps you have noticed subtle changes, sideways comments, lack of support when you grow, silence where there was once enthusiasm. Do not turn this into paranoia, but also do not pretend it does not exist. God does not call you to live suspiciously, but He does call you to live attentively. When someone feels diminished by your light, they will not always react with honesty. Sometimes they respond with coldness, other times with false cordiality. And that is when the Father steps in, creating distance, revealing, protecting. Today, do something simple. Observe more than you explain. Listen more than you defend yourself. Not every truth needs confrontation. Some only need to be acknowledged so you can adjust your boundaries. Son, daughter, you do not need to prove who you are. God already knows, and those who walk in truth do not fear the light. If you have lived something like this, if you have ever sensed something behind polite smiles or confusing attitudes, share in the comments, with respect and sincerity, what it taught you. Your experience may bring clarity and comfort to other hearts. I am here. Do not be afraid. Love remains the path. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. There is something very precious the Father entrusted to you. Your spirit. It is sensitive, alive, attentive. It notices when something begins to ferment inside, when repeated words chip away at hope, when familiar environments slowly steal your joy. And because you belong to God, He does not allow that poison to remain at work without care. When I walked among men, I saw how companionship shapes the heart. I saw disciples strengthened through fellowship, and I saw others weakened when they allowed themselves to be carried by the wrong influences. That is why it is written, "Bad company corrupts good character," not as a threat but as a loving warning. The heart absorbs more than it realizes. Perhaps you are noticing that after being around certain people, something within you dims. Your faith feels heavier. Your joy decreases. Your hope seems distant. This does not happen by accident. Relationships that constantly pull you down, normalize cynicism, mock goodness, aggressively challenge your faith. All of this slowly contaminates the inside. I know you tried to stay, you tried to help, you tried to be light, and many times you were. But listen to me with care. Even light needs oil to keep burning. If you give of yourself continuously without being refilled, you will eventually burn out. God does not sever relationships on a whim. He intervenes when he sees your spirit being exposed to something that, if continued, would cause deep harm. Sometimes he allows a natural distancing. Other times, he brings clear changes, not to isolate you, but to preserve you. This does not mean people are evil in essence. It simply means not everyone is ready to walk at the same spiritual level as you. And remaining where your spirit is constantly diminished is not proof of love. It is neglect of yourself. Today, practice something simple and honest. Notice how your faith behaves after certain encounters. Do you feel closer to God or farther away? Lighter or more confused? That answer is a spiritual thermometer. Use it wisely. Son, daughter, I did not call you to spiritually survive. I called you to live with inner abundance, and when something threatens that, the Father acts, even if it hurts, even if you do not immediately understand. Trust me, I guard your spirit with care. Do not be afraid. Love remains the path. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. I want to speak to you about a quiet weight that many people carry without realizing it. The weight of spiritual misalignment. It doesn't show up all at once. It settles in slowly, like a tiredness that won't go away, like a constant restlessness, like the feeling that you're always explaining yourself, always adjusting, always shrinking yourself to fit. When the scriptures say, "What fellowship can light have with darkness?" they are not talking about good people versus bad people. They are talking about different directions, values that don't meet, purposes that can't walk together. Light and darkness don't fight. They simply don't mix. When they try to exist in the same space, the heart feels the conflict. I saw this many times. People who followed me out of curiosity, not surrender. Others who admired my words but weren't willing to live what I taught. While I spoke of love, forgiveness, and truth, they were seeking control, appearances, and advantage. In those cases, closeness always felt heavy. Maybe you're living that right now. You love God, you're trying to grow, you want to live with integrity, mercy, and responsibility. But you're surrounded by people who don't share those values. They don't openly mock you, but they don't respect it either. They don't attack, but they make little jokes. And little by little, you feel like you have to justify being who you are. Son, daughter, don't ignore that weight. It's not here to accuse you, it's here to alert you. When there's a constant clash of values, the heart gets tired. You start to silence your convictions, soften truths, hide parts of yourself just to keep outward peace, while losing inner peace. I never called you to live divided. I called you to live whole. Whole in your thoughts, in your faith, in your choices. That doesn't mean you can only be around people who think exactly like you. It means you should not put down roots where your values are constantly wounded. Today, do something simple. Reflect on the environments where you spend most of your time. Do they draw you closer to the light or pull you toward the shadows? Do they strengthen your faith or weaken it? Don't judge anyone. Just notice the effects. Son, daughter, spiritual alignment is not arrogance, it's care. It's understanding that not every closeness is healthy, even when there is affection. Sometimes loving also means keeping a respectful distance. I am with you in this discernment. Do not be afraid. Love is still the way, and it always walks together with truth. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. I want you to walk with me into this understanding with an open heart and without rushing. There are moments in life when you look back and try to find the exact point where everything changed, but you can't. There wasn't a clear argument. There weren't harsh words. There wasn't a formal goodbye. The silence just grew. Replies got shorter. Meetings became rarer. Your paths stopped running side by side. And that unsettles you, because you like to understand, to close cycles, to put a name to things. But listen to me tenderly. Not every distance needs a human explanation. Some are born from divine direction. It is written, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." Many times you plan, you want it, you insist, and still nothing flows. People drift away without confrontation. Situations end without announcements. Doors close without noise. And you call it coincidence. I call it care. When I lived among men, I also experienced these quiet distances. Some walked with me only until truth began to require change. When the road became narrower, deeper, more committed, they simply fell behind. Not because I pushed them away, but because their hearts weren't ready to keep going. Son, daughter, many times God creates distance without drama to spare your heart. If He revealed everything all at once, you might not be able to bear it. If there were direct confrontations, deeper wounds might open. So He moves gently. He allows schedules not to line up, priorities to shift, contact to lessen, life seemingly on its own to reposition everything. I know you tried to hold on. You tried to start conversations. You tried to explain what you felt. You tried to adjust so you wouldn't lose it. And when you realized you were always the only one carrying it, something inside you began to get tired. That tiredness isn't weakness. It's the sign you reached the limit of what you could carry alone. Some relationships only end when the effort comes from one side. And God allows that to show you clearly where there was reciprocity and where there was only habit, where there was love and where there was convenience. Silence also reveals truths. It shows who is willing to walk through discomfort to remain, and who was only present while everything was easy. And when God allows that silence to last, He is teaching you to listen less to external noise and more to His inner voice. Son, daughter, don't blame yourself for not understanding everything right now. Not everything needs to be understood in the moment it happens. Some answers only come after you've walked a few steps forward, and then you look back with more maturity and peace. Today, do something simple and profound. When you miss what drifted away without explanation, place that longing in God's hands without forcing a return or demanding clarity. Just say quietly, "Father, if this left my path, guide me to where I should be now." That prayer repositions your heart. Trust. The same God who allows distance is the God who prepares new encounters, new environments, and new connections more aligned with who you are becoming. Nothing was lost without purpose. I am still directing your steps, even when you feel like you're walking alone. I am here. Do not be afraid. Love is still the way. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Bring your heart close to mine and listen calmly, because this truth is deep and often hard to accept while it still hurts. There are moments when God allows human support to decrease. People who used to be close start to disappear. Presences that felt certain become uncertain. Words that once came easily stop coming. And your heart asks, almost in a whisper, "Father, why am I ending up with no one?" Let me answer you with love and truth. You are not being left with no one. You are being led into a place where your trust can no longer be divided. It is written, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose hope is the Lord." Notice, son, daughter, it doesn't say whose hope is also the Lord. It says whose hope is the Lord, entire, full, with no hidden reservations. And many times, while you still lean too heavily on people, on external validation, on relationships that act like emotional crutches, God's new season stays blocked, not as punishment, but because of misalignment. When I walked among men, I saw this again and again. I saw people longing for miracles without letting go of old securities. I saw hearts asking for transformation without releasing supports that had already served their season. And the Father, in mercy, allowed certain structures to fall, not to destroy, but to rebuild on a firmer foundation. Son, daughter. When God removes someone from your path, it isn't always because that person is evil or because something terrible happened. Sometimes it's simply because they occupy a space they should no longer occupy, a space of emotional dependence, a space of spiritual reference, a space of inner security. And God does not share that place with anyone, not out of selfishness, but out of deep care for your soul. I know the emptiness scares you. I know temporary loneliness hurts. I know there are days you miss having someone to share the weight of the journey with, hearing a familiar voice, feeling like someone is holding you up. But listen to me tenderly. When God allows that emptying, He is not abandoning you. He is drawing nearer. There are blessings that won't arrive while certain people remain. Not because they are enemies, but because they wouldn't be able to walk with you into the next level. They would feel threatened by your expansion, uncomfortable with your growth, confused by your change. And God, who sees the future, would rather remove them gently now than allow greater pain later. When human support decreases, something subtle and powerful begins to happen inside you. Your prayers stop being automatic and become more honest. Your faith stops being inherited and becomes personal. Your spiritual hearing sharpens. You start seeking in God what you used to seek in messages, phone calls, and other people's approval, and it's in that place that the heart matures. Son, daughter. God doesn't want you to depend on Him out of fear, but out of trust. He wants to be your foundation, not your last resort. And sometimes, to teach you that, He allows the human ground to feel unstable, so you discover how firm the spiritual ground truly is. Today, do something simple and profound. Look honestly at where you've been placing your security. Is it in people, in specific relationships, in feeling needed or recognized? Place that consciously in God's hands, not as someone who is losing, but as someone who trusts. Say quietly, Father, teach me to depend on You above everything. That surrender unlocks paths you can't even imagine. Do not fear this season when it feels like there are fewer hands holding you. Many times it's exactly in this moment that God is holding you closer than ever. He is teaching you to walk on your own spiritual feet, guided by love and trust. I am with you. I always have been. Even when it feels like there are fewer people, there is more care. Love is still the way, and it begins when your hope finds rest in God. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Come closer to my heart and listen calmly, because this word touches a sensitive place in your soul. There are pains that make no noise. Others don't see them. They don't show up in public tears or long explanations. They are quiet, deep pains, born when God allows something to be pulled from your life. Not just distanced for a while, not just cooled down, but removed. And it hurts. It hurts because there was a bond. It hurts because there was history. It hurts because it was part of your routine, your identity, your sense of safety. But hear me with love. Not everything that hurts is harming you. Some pains are saving you. It is written, the Lord disciplines the one He loves. Discipline, son, daughter, is not rejection. It is not punishment. It is love in action. It is the Father who sees beyond right now, beyond the longing, beyond the attachment, and chooses to protect your future even while your present weeps. When God removes something familiar, something known, something that felt inseparable from you, He does it because He knows exactly where you are going, and He knows that thing could not come with you without delaying you, hurting you, or pulling you off course. God never rips away out of cruelty. He removes out of mercy. I lived this. I lived separations that no one else saw as necessary. I watched people walk away, not because I stopped loving them, but because the path the Father was leading me on required surrender, truth, and transformation. And not everyone was ready for that. It hurt, but it protected the purpose. Son, daughter. There are separations that seem unfair to human eyes, but are deeply compassionate in God's eyes. He sees hidden intentions, accumulated wear, slow poisons you're still trying to excuse. He doesn't wait for damage to become irreversible. He acts first. I know you cried in secret. I know you questioned in silence. I know you asked for explanations that never came. I know you tried to negotiate with God, saying you could hold on a little longer, that you'd give one more chance, that you'd do it differently. But there are moments when the Father says enough, not because you failed, but because you've endured too much. Divine separation hurts because you love, but it saves because God sees the end from the beginning. It wounds the attachment but heals the destiny. It hurts now so it won't destroy you later. Don't turn this pain into bitterness. Don't harden your heart. Allow yourself to feel, but don't let longing make you doubt God's care. What left didn't leave by accident. It left because it could not stay without hurting you. Today, practice something simple and deeply freeing. When the memory of what left tightens your chest, don't fight it. Just release it. Pray, Father, I trust that you rescued me from what I could not rescue myself from. That trust turns pain into rest and grief into maturity. Son, daughter, you didn't lose everything. You were preserved. What God removed was not punishment. It was protection disguised as goodbye. And if you feel these words walking with you, strengthening you, and helping you cross this process with more peace, stay with me. Subscribe to follow the next episodes. There are still paths of healing, restoration, and hope that we will walk together, step by step, with love and truth. I am here with you, even in this season of quiet pain. Do not be afraid. Love is still the way, even when it passes through separation. Son, daughter, I am here. Peace be with you. Stay with me a little longer. Breathe. Let your heart rest, because now I will speak about what is born after the pain, after the cutting away, after the silence. Many understand the removal, but few understand what comes next. And this is where I want to lead you in love. Because when God removes, He never acts so the emptiness can rule. He acts to prepare a holy place. It is written, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." Look closely, son, daughter. God doesn't only say He will do something new someday far away. He says He is already doing it, even while you still miss what left, even while your eyes still search for what won't return. The new begins while the heart is still learning to let go. When the wrong people leave your life, when relationships end, when environments stop making sense, God is clearing the ground inside you. He doesn't do this by accident. He knows certain seeds won't grow in contaminated soil. He removes what wounds you so peace has a place to rest. He quiets the noise so you can hear His voice clearly again. I know that for a while the empty space scared you. The silence felt too heavy. The loneliness felt like punishment. But listen tenderly. The emptiness God allows is never abandonment. It is preparation. Just as a potter empties a vessel before shaping it again, the Father needed to remove weights, influences, and ties that would not sustain the next season of your life. When I walked among men, I saw this happen repeatedly. I watched fishermen leave their nets to find purpose. I watched people release the past to live something greater. I watched painful goodbyes become doors to life. The Father never wastes a tear surrendered in trust. No pain you lived in obedience was useless. Son, daughter, what God prepares after removal is not only something better in human eyes, it is something holier, lighter relationships where you don't have to explain yourself all the time, safer affection that doesn't compete with your faith, environments where you can breathe, grow, and flourish without being afraid to be who you are. You will start to notice subtle signs, a peace that stays after a conversation, a rest that doesn't depend on other people's approval, a quiet joy without forced excitement, a deep sense of alignment, like everything is finally in its right place. That isn't random. It is the fruit of God's care at every step of the journey. But let me guide you with love and wisdom. Don't rush to fill the space that was opened. Don't try to quickly replace what left. God's new season isn't born from anxiety. It's born from trust. The Father is not late. He works at the exact time your heart can receive without being wounded again. There are encounters that only arrive when you are no longer needy, relationships that only become possible when you've learned to stand upright before God on your own, blessings that only find room when the heart is clean of comparisons, fears, and old dependencies. Today, practice something simple and deeply spiritual. Give thanks, even without understanding everything. Thank God for what left, for what stayed, and for what is still coming. Gratitude seals cycles and protects your heart from bitterness. It places you in a posture of trust, not demand. Son, daughter, you are not behind. You did not waste time. You were prepared. Every distancing, every tear, every quiet night worked together so you could arrive here more aware, more whole, more aligned with the Father's purpose. I am still with you, in the new, in the restart, in the peace that now has room to live inside you. Do not be afraid. I am here. Love is and will always be the way.